SUI, maybe you are like me. I am obsessed with Christmas. My wife and I are both obsessed with Christmas. Like there's Mariah Carey obsessed with Christmas, and then there's us obsessed with Christmas. We're right there with her. Right after Halloween, she goes, "It's time." Like that's us too. That is us too. And we just love everything about it. I mean, the holiday spirit, the traditions, the reason to eat, the food, the lights. Come on, the lights, the music, and don't even get me started about the holiday drinks. Right, the salted caramel mocha, my favorite with extra whipped cream. But my favorite part about Christmas is not the gift giving. Okay, it is the decorations and the decorating. It's my favorite part. I mean, there's something special, right, about going into a place and you feel the magic because it's been Christmasified. I don't know if that's a word, but it is today. It's been Christmasified and the magic is in the air. There's a giant Christmas tree and the ornaments, fake snow. I'm talking Disneyland. Disneyland if you're bougie, but if you're like me, I'm talking about any mall with a giant tree. It's still just as great, okay? But we love the decorations. So naturally, we also love decorating. My wife and I, we're both Filipino. And what's crazy is in the Philippines, you actually start decorating in September. Okay, we're not that crazy. We decorate in November. But I have to admit, my tree was up to like March last year, maybe even April. Okay, partially, actually, mainly because I was lazy to put it down, but mostly because I love Christmas. Mostly because that tree took hours to put up. That tree was picture perfect. We spent a whole Saturday dedicated to the perfect tree. Time was spent, and more than that, friends, money was spent. Okay, if you're not buying the Christmas tree decorations, don't complain, just help them out. That is a free one. But we're obsessed with Christmas, and because of it, we're dedicated to make it picture perfect. We're dedicated to make it perfect. When we're dedicated, listen now, when we're dedicated to something, we spend our time, we spend our efforts, we spend our money on it. And here's what I want you to hear. We're all decorated. We're all dedicated to something. We're all dedicated to something. Today I want to ask you, what are you dedicated to? What are you dedicated to? And I ask this because this is what I want you to hear going into the new year. And actually, this is what I want you to hear ending this year and reflecting on this year. What we're dedicated to matters. What we're dedicated to matters. And I'm not just talking about dedicated to the decorations, not dedicated to Christmas or a season. No. What is your life dedicated to? There's a quote I heard recently that I've been thinking a lot about that says this. Well, we become what we behold. We become what we behold. In other words, our life, our being, it's shaped by the things we think about the most. It's shaped by the people who are around the most. It's shaped by the things we spend our money on and our time doing. And if that is true, we become what we behold, then what we're dedicated to matters. What we're dedicated to matters. And when I think about the Christmas story, as we've seen in the last couple weeks, we saw the shepherds, right? They celebrated. We saw Mary, she was not dedicated, she contemplated. And this week we get to look at the wise men. And what we see is that they were dedicated. You want to know what it looks like to be dedicated? You want to know what it looks like to be dedicated to the right things? Let's look at the wise men because they were dedicated to Jesus. You see, we're talking about the Christmas story. When Jesus was born in Bethlehem, word began to spread. And that's good news for us, but that was bad news for the king at the time. King Herod, he hated the idea of a king being born. And so what he did was he put out this law to kill every baby under the age of 2. And more than that, he told the wise men, he actually sent them out on a search to look for baby Jesus. And he said, hey, wise men, look for Jesus, inform me so that I can worship him. But when in reality, what he wanted to do was kill Jesus. And this is where we pick up in Matthew 2, starting in verse 9. It says, after listening to the king, they went on their way, talking about the wise men. And behold, the star that they had seen when it rose went before them until it came to rest over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced exceedingly with great joy. And going into the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they fell down and worshipped him. Then, opening up their treasures, they offered him gifts. They offered him gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And then, being warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed to their own country by another way. You see, as we dissect this passage and look at what it looked like for the wise men to be dedicated to Jesus, I want you to think about this last year. We're on the last Wednesday of SCY. I want you to think about 2023 as I ask these prompting questions. Friends, you want to know what it looks like to be dedicated to something? The first question I want to ask you today is, what takes your time and your energy? What takes your time and your energy? See, the wise men, it says here, they went on their way and they followed the star and searched for Jesus. But many people don't know. Scholars say that search was a long search. It was a 2-year search that took up their time and it took up their energy. A 2-year search. I could barely look for a pair of socks for 2 minutes. I'm actually wearing unmatching socks. It's embarrassing. But I can't look for anything for more than 2 minutes, let alone 2 years. That is dedication. When we're dedicated, we spend our time and money on something like the wise men did. Friends, what takes your time and your energy? Is it sports? Is it maybe a relationship, a boyfriend or a girlfriend? Is it video games? Is it social media? What takes your time and energy? The next question, if you want to know what you're dedicated to, what takes your treasure and resources? What takes their treasure and resources? The wise men, because of their dedication to Jesus, right? It says they fell down and worshipped him when they saw him with Mary. But more than that, it says, then they opened their treasures and offered him gifts. They offered him gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Do your treasures, Sandals Church Youth, do your treasures, do your talents, does your time, does your gifts, maybe does your money, do they get offered back to Jesus because we're dedicated to him? This is what a sign of dedication looks like. More than just adoration. They fell on their knees and worshiped him. Yes, but more than that, they surrendered and sacrificed to him. The gifts they gave, gold, the gifts of frankincense and myrrh, they were costly gifts. Is what you're offering to Jesus today costly? And maybe that's a question. Another question is, what is costly that you need to give to Jesus today? What takes your treasure and resources? The last question I want to ask you is this. You want to know what it looks like to be dedicated like the wise men. What takes your devotion? What takes your devotion? The next sign of the wise men being dedicated to Jesus lies in who we see their devotion is truly to. Right? Remember, King Herod, he wanted to kill Jesus. He said he sent the wise men in a search for Jesus. And he says, bring him back to me or let me know where he's at so I can worship him. But he wanted to kill him. But our passage says, after being warned by a dream, some translations say a divine dream, warned the wise men. And because of that dream, they decided not to obey King Herod, and they departed to their own country. You see, they showed their dedication to Jesus by showing their devotion to him over their devotion to King Herod. They showed their devotion to Jesus over their devotion to King Herod, and that was what it looked like for them to be dedicated. Despite the king telling them, bring him to me, let me worship him, but really let me kill him. They are warned in a dream and they followed that. This one I think is special because I want you to just think about it with me. At that time, this is incredibly radical. This is incredibly radical. Everybody during this time, they knew to obey the king, but the wise men, they didn't. They didn't obey the king, and that was countercultural. That was unique. That was out of the norm. Maybe from an outsider looking in, that was bizarre. And this is what I want you to hear with that today. Sometimes our devotion to Jesus will be that way. Actually, oftentimes it will be that way. It might feel against the norm. It might feel against the grain, but the wise men did that. That is what devotion looks like. What today, Sandals Church Youth, takes your devotion? You see, this is where I want to end our year, just in a posture of self-reflection. You want to know what it looks like to be dedicated? You want to know what it looks like to be dedicated to Jesus? You want to know what it looks like to behold something? Or you want to ask yourself, what really matters to us? What takes your time? What takes your treasures? What takes your devotion? And hear me, the wise men, their dedication, as we read today, is a part of the Christmas story. What does that mean? It's a part of the Jesus story. It's a part of the promise. It's a part of fulfilling prophecy. It's a part of the road to the cross and the power that it still stands today. Their dedication led to promise. And that's what I want you to hear as we close our message. Listen now, our dedication, it matters because our dedication to Jesus leads to promise. That's why it matters, church. And so I want to ask you, what promise do you need fulfilled? What promise can be fulfilled because of our dedication to Jesus? What promise might be fulfilled because of our dedication to Jesus? What life change might happen because of our decision to be dedicated to Jesus today? More tangibly now, what year can 2024 look like because of our decision to be dedicated to Jesus today? I guarantee you it'll be a year full of promise if we give our time, if we give our treasures and our devotion to him. Will you pray with me? Dear God, we love you, and as we worship you and as we celebrate you today, I pray that we just reflect. We reflect on the ways we can step into obedience to you by being more dedicated to you. I pray, Lord, for a conviction to take our time, to take our treasures, to take our devotion, and may we be obedient to that conviction. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
What is up, SCY? If you enjoyed this video, if it blessed you, if you got something good out of it, I would love it if you commented, shared it with a friend, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Hit that button right there and follow along with us as we continue to bring sermons and messages for you guys. Love you, SCY. Peace.